Check it out. The original studio. Doing a theme week just doesn't feel right if it's somewhere else. So it's time to return back to essentially this channel's roots in order to do something that's as old as the channel itself, which is doing a theme week, either that or posting some top 5, top 10, or list videos for all of you fine people within the Cover Killer Nation. You have Benjamin Randall, actually, to thank for this one. He actually suggested via the Facebook page that you should all join if you want to have your voice potentially heard in a future video. He posted, do a top 10 list about the top 10 ways that we can help the music industry. Now, I'm not going to do 10, I'm actually going to do 5, so I apologize for only meeting you halfway, Benjamin. However, I think that 5 key points, 5 key things are all that we really need in order to kind of get this whole ball rolling once again and maybe take it back to where it was. And another reason why is because a lot of these sub-points that could have easily been, the remaining 5 points to make 10, all fall within the same category. I know that I talk a lot about how the music business has kind of gone to shit, so it's time to actually talk from the other side and give a couple reasons how we can help it. Now, the number 5 thing seems a little bit obvious, and it's been kind of beaten to death on this channel and on a lot of, individual statuses or just different ways that people communicate, and that's the fact that we just need to buy more records. And by records, I don't just mean vinyl, I mean CD, new items, new titles, things like that. Basically prove that the format is still alive and viable, and that purchasing music, as opposed to downloading or streaming music, is still the preferred option by customers. Now, this seems obvious only because with any business, having more money and achieving more sales simply means that you're doing a better business. That's the reason why this seems a bit like a obvious moment as opposed to a true aha. But it is true. One thing that definitely made the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and times before that even, a very viable and, really vibrant time for music is the fact that it was being consumed by the regular, just at huge levels. It was levels that continue to exponentially go upward as the decades progressed. And as there happened to be more formats available that were physical, then you had the opportunity for dual sales. You had somebody who would have a cassette copy that would then get a CD copy, and then maybe quest for a vinyl copy if they had that available. Now, here we are in 2015, and the only formats that are available, we have CD, we have vinyl, and then we have streaming or downloading online. So, obviously, if you purchase more, then there's a good chance that the business will feel a little bit better about itself. Physical sales definitely help. Physical sales actually showcase that the format is still alive and well. Not to mention, it also showcases that the physical music store, a place where music fans can all go together and talk about music if they wanted to, or at least buy music there within music, with music fans or people who are buying from music fans. And speaking with somebody who has the same passion, speaking with somebody, a worker hopefully, that has that same level of drive, that same character within themselves. Not to mention, it also showcases that the ideal way for us to, get all of this music is through the root copy. Really, with a digital sale, you're missing out on some of the key aspects. We've heard all of the arguments. But at the same time, we're living in an instantaneous culture where we want everything right now and very, very simply. We don't want to have to switch out CDs every single time we want to listen to a brand new artist whenever we're in our car or in a place where it's less than safe to do so. We were able to do it before. We were able to do it pretty well before. Some people had some pretty intricate systems. But at the same time, why do we live in that singles culture? Singles culture is something that actually helped promote sales within the past, 40 years. It is something that could easily come back. It is something that easily could be just as viable. However, in 2015, in an era where most of the songs that people like are the only songs they end up liking on the entire album, and I'm talking and looking directly at you, pop music, well, singles culture seems like it would actually hurt more than it would help. So, we got the obvious one out of the way. What about number 4? Number 4 is actually the abandonment of downloading, the abandonment of the digital media. You might think this would actually hurt a whole hell of a lot more, principally because digital media, especially with websites where you can make purchases for this music, actually adds to the internal revenue. Well, the one thing about digital sales that actually hurts a whole lot more than it helps is once again that whole singles culture idea. We now have the ability, at the click of a wrist, to essentially get the songs that we want, pay for the songs that we want, and that's it. It's no longer actually a full body or a full collection of work from an artist that we're purchasing. It's now individual tracks, which is something that actually makes the whole album philosophy, well, they at least claim that it's dying, but it's not. If you take a listen or take a look as to what Kanye West was speaking about whenever he was very critical of Beck and very praising of Beyonce, it was the fact that he was praising and kind of really just obsessed with the entire album. He was obsessed with the dual media aspect of it, but was also obsessed with the entirety of the way in which it was put together. Aside from that, he was a pretty disrespectful asshole, but he has a good point. A lot of times, there will be albums that have kind of a theme behind it. Either that, or at least they have a bit of a central purpose. Now, I understand that if you listen to the latest Katy Perry record, or, Ray Stramard, you're not going to find a theme. It's just going to be a bunch of tracks, most of which were probably not written by that person. But every so often, you're going to have a couple of gems. If you look within the heavy metal department, or even the rock departments, you may not necessarily find a theme or a concept everywhere. Not every band can be Coheed and Cambria, or have a juggernaut cycle such as Periphery. But at the same time, you can kind of identify and sort of pinpoint a little bit of the writing style. That's something that certainly helps as well. These are all things that also is coupled with the artistic and visual media that comes along with it, and anything else that perhaps can be sparsed or placed onto the CD disc or a DVD that's included. So this is something that, once again, definitely aids and kind of sides more with the physical media purchase as opposed to the media purchase online. Now, I understand that online purchasing makes things extremely convenient, but as we've seen, it also makes downloading illegally, pirating, and other things such as this very easy to do. And once somebody has something in this culture here in 2015, they have no desire to go out and actually purchase it. Mostly. I'm not going to say that that's true of all, but the temptation is certainly there. And especially whenever they can't find it or can't locate it, they feel that, actually going on the hunt, actually going for the search, isn't worth it. Number 3, and this actually goes with the physical side, removing special editions. And I don't mean as a whole. I just mean whenever an album first initially drops. It seems like every single time a big artist has an album come out, there are 2 editions that come out. There's a basic edition, and then there's a deluxe edition. The deluxe edition usually includes a couple of additional tracks, either that or some additional multimedia that comes along with it. An artist such as Meghan Trainor was able to add 3 or 4 additional songs, whereas an artist such as One Direction adds a yearbook style of photograph book. So it's a little bit different for just about every group, but mainly all that a deluxe edition really gets you is more music, either that or more information. It's a way in which to expand upon the artistic media. However, this is something that's extremely separatist, not to mention, if you notice, there will be many people that will actually focus more heavily on the regular basic album collection and then just get the additional songs on iTunes because of the price differential than actually going for the deluxe editions. There are very few deluxe editions that I myself actually go for, and I do like to have everything that I can get. I definitely focus on deluxe editions a little bit more within the heavy metal realm than, say, the rock realm, or if there's a rap album that I actually tend to dig. Like Lupe Fiasco didn't have a deluxe edition, but if he did, I probably would have gotten that one. Much like I got the Kendrick Lamar special edition of Good Kid, Mad City, as opposed to just sticking with the basic package there. But that was just for a couple of additional songs. Couple of additional songs that easily could be a website exclusive or a fan club exclusive. What happened to fan clubs? I know fan clubs still exist, but why not have all those special things basically be, if you're a member of the fan club? Include some sort of information within the booklet of the CD that actually says, these are fan club exclusive tracks. You have to actually sign up for the fan club. We get you a code, and then protect all of the songs if you decide to do it digitally. Protect everything where if you get it, then there's a code that it can't be re-uploaded, either that or placed on YouTube for other people to consume. Actually ramp up the exclusivity a little bit. A lot of the people that are doing things wrong, a lot of the people that are only doing this based around the fact that they can get something for nothing, will very quickly either A, have to change their tune, B, try to find a different way to get their stuff, and C, get in deep shit for it. I'm not necessarily saying that I want every single music pirate to be thrown in jail, because that would be wrong. I would be thrown in jail for things that I've done in the past. But at the same time, if you really care that much about where the sales are going, if you really care that much about thinking that the music business is in trouble, then in reality, you should actually take measures to include things such as this. That way it wouldn't happen. Number 2, promotion. Promotion. We live in an age right now, in 2015, where you could get information just like that. I have a computer right in front of me. If I wanted to look up anything in the world, whether it be midget porn, whether it be anthropology, whether or not people think there are space aliens that are hovering on the outskirts of Saturn, I have a computer and I can get to it as quickly as possible. It just takes a Google search. Music, this should be a great thing for. It should mean that people are able to find new and exciting bands, new and exciting music, almost at the drop of a hat. It should be simple, but it's not. The promotion and the way in which albums are backed, how this information gets out to people, is very, very lacking. It's lackluster. One of the key reasons why music exploded in decades of the past were because of publication, were because of the end users themselves actually going forward and making fanzines or, zines for an entire culture of music, and just a lot of actual backing being placed on albums. How many times have you heard of albums that sold poorly because they were not marketed very well? How many times have you heard stories about how the promotional level of an album caused its sales to be weak, but yet it's still considered and revered to be an actually really great album? How many people do you feel have actually missed out on something spectacular whenever you listen to something that perhaps only 2,000, 3,000, or even 10,000 people own? Something that a lot of people will cite as legendary and godlike because of maybe what somebody else has said or what they've listened to online, but don't actually have the physical copy in front of them. If you return to the old styles, the old ways of promotion, and actually expand upon it, if you actually expand upon publication, if you actually expand upon ways in which people can get the information, to see where the information is, then you actually are able to build even further a musical empire. This is something where heavy metal does this on metal-related websites because they know that's where heavy metal fans will tend to travel. If you look at a website such as Metal Storm, which I like to go on to and frequent a good bit to kind of check out what's happening, that's one place where you're going to see a lot of it. Now, once again, it definitely feels as though those people, those labels that have the deepest pockets actually have the priority. A secondary thing that I would do for this is to ensure that this is not the case. Anybody who has the ability to actually market any sort of promotion has to have it on just one simple basic level. And it's one simple basic level that would cycle through for everybody, not just for the people that have the deepest pockets. One of the biggest differentials that happens in the music game today is the fact that certain artists, certain people, get pushed a lot heavier. They get pushed a lot harder. Whereas in the past, even though this was pretty true, there were still a lot of funds, at least, or there was a lot of attention that was allocated toward other artists to try to emerge. And then, after things maybe don't fall into place the way in which, it was designed, then maybe you back off a little bit. Either that, or you kind of try to coach them along a little bit. I'm not exactly sure how you would implement this. However, I do feel that promotional, the way in which things are promoted, the way in which information is delivered to end users is a key component as to why this is really kind of going the way that it is. And also, if you take a look at non-independent music stores, there's one thing that you're going to find within a lot of the staff. A lot of them aren't necessarily music people. A lot of people that are within these stores are there because it's a job. Now, I understand that you have to feed your family. And I understand that you can't exactly be picky in times of struggle like that. I know what that feels like. However, at the same time, you would think that if you're hiring for a music store, you're hiring somebody that has a love of music, that has knowledge within it, that has some sort of actual inkling the fuck it is, as opposed to just some regular-ass schmuck. Who gives a fuck if Lucy over here looks like a goddamn porn star? You shouldn't have to be selling things that keep people coming in your store. They come in your store because you're a music store. You might be the only one in your area. It should be something where what you are selling is why you hire somebody. What they know, their passion level. And maybe that's something that's not very rich in your area, but I'm sure that there's a couple people that you just haven't checked yet. But this is also a key component. The people that are helping to sell this, the people that are aiding with the sales of these records, don't have that same drive and passion. They are motivated and they are driven by various other sources or various other reasons for doing things in which they're being done. It's no longer being done just because of the love of music. In fact, that idea is being masked within all of this. Whenever you go to an independent music store, you'll notice things are a little bit different. And while you may not necessarily have a conversation with everybody if you own one, it's definitely one where those conversations occur a little bit more often. I definitely wish that I had the funds to have my own independent music store, because holy shit, I would go home probably with a big-ass smile on my face every single night. Unless some dude just came in and decided to shoot me in the leg, and even then, if he liked good music, I probably wouldn't give two shits. Number one way in which we can help the music business out today is what we do as musicians ourselves. Now, this doesn't apply to everybody, but this is certainly one that has a very, very high level of importance. Now, we live in an age where independence and getting things out there independently is a little bit easier, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're an instant success story. And success is a word that you really need to examine whenever you go into the music business to begin with. Success isn't necessarily 5 million records sold. All depending on what your style is, success is maybe 5,000, 50,000, whatever. This is something where, as musicians, we need to play the music that actually is within our hearts or within our souls, not necessarily just something that follows a trend or something that makes you think that you're going to be signed a little bit more quickly if you play it. It's what you're capable of doing and how you're able to push the envelope a little bit further. Now, music fans are included with this because you are the basic mouthpiece of these bands. Not to mention, you're also the basic mouthpiece of the genres that you love. Now, I might be really, really harsh on some genres of music, and by and large, it's deserving. All things considered, these are genres of music that have the most backing power, probably, in the world today. These are ones where people are liking them for pretty irrational reasons. Either that or just because they're young, which I have nothing against youth. I was there once. But at the same time, you need to continue to explore. There's a lot more out there. If I would have stayed exactly where I was whenever I was 13 years old, right now I'd be listening to rap music with a little bit of alternative, and all bands that everybody has heard of, and most of which they insult. Yeah, that's just kind of how it goes. One of the main things that I've noticed about this recent generation is that they get to that point, and then they stop. We need a little bit more in the way of differentiation between the bands that are out there. One thing that made the culture so rich in the 70s, the 80s, and even the 90s was the fact that every single genre of music could kind of be intermingled a little bit, and it would kind of make sense. You could easily listen to a Tears for Fears song from the 1980s and then switch over to a Metallica track, and then maybe even, if you decided that you liked it that much, go to a Blondie song or a Whitney Houston song, fucking go to a Cure track. Maybe then you go back over to Hellhammer or Early Death. There is something about the depth of music in the 1980s that made it very easy to kind of listen to it, no matter what genre it was, with perhaps the lingering exception of country, but even that has its positive values. Listen to a song from Dolly Parton or Dwight Yoakam and Call Me in the Morning. But nowadays, everything has such a differentiation to it. Everything has to be such a differentiation that it makes it separatist. It makes it where this style of fans need to be over here, this style of fans need to be over here. The comminglers meet in the middle, and it seems like they're fighting all the time. So as a band, we need to make sure that you have a sound that you're very good at, something that you're very strong with, something that you believe in, something that's not just there because it's part of a movement. You yourself need to be the movement. You yourself need to actually start the next movement, progress music even further. As fans, we need to go even further. We need to drive even harder. Each and every one of you that loves something should be telling people about it. Each and every one of you that's passionate about music should be exploring more options. That way you can better help your friends do the same. breed them into individuals that also really love music. It sounds a lot like mind control. It sounds a lot like we're trying to convert the world like it's some sort of religion. Either that or like we're Nazis. We're music Nazis. Sig fucking Heil music. But that's not what it's all about. Music has such a great power over our lives that a lot of people don't actually understand just how much it actually means to them. Not until they actually explore it willingly, not just by listening to a radio dial or listening to the songs that are being played at the club or the restaurant or wherever they may be. Instead, sitting down, exploring it, kind of taking it all in, enjoying the overall atmosphere and ambiance of the music within. These are things that need to be exposed just as heavily as the bands that you try to expose. You need to expose just the sanctity of the experience. That in a world here in 2015 where everything is so instant, we actually need to take a moment, not an instant, to actually sit down, sit back, and just whoa, listen to the music. There you have it. I think I probably talked about at least 10 bullet points, Benjamin, so I guess I sort of did my job, but did it with only a count of 5. This music business is something that's extremely important. It's something that, even though it seems like they're a pack of greedy fucks right now, that actually harbor a lot of spoiled kids, well, it's something that can be changed. It's something that can actually be altered a little bit. And as a consumer, we do have all of the power. But we also have to do a lot of work. It's not all going to be done for us. And in fact, whenever we see, or at least we do see, that whenever it is done for us, it's never the artists we typically like. So, let's get to work. I'm Cover Killer Nation, and I'm out.